At 3:12 in the morning, Claire came rushing downstairs in a panic. Atlas was standing at the kitchen door. His teeth were bared, his eyes were locked on the backyard. Nala stood beside him, fur raised like needles, growling low. Claire flipped on the light. What she saw made her blood run cold. The man climbing over the garden wall froze the moment he spotted the dogs. And Claire. It was in that instant that the mistake of the 18 families who had rejected these 2 dogs became undeniably clear. But what led up to that moment is even more remarkable. It all began a few months earlier, on an ordinary Friday afternoon. Claire was 28 and recently divorced. She was living alone in a house she'd chosen specifically to escape her memories. Every morning at 7:15, she sat by herself at a table meant for 4, drank her coffee and told herself, "I'm doing fine." Maybe she was trying to believe it. But that Friday, everything was about to change. She just didn't know it yet. She had stopped by the shelter to check on a dog she'd been considering adopting. But when she reached cage number 14, her eyes went wide. 2 massive dogs sat side by side, leaning against each other, as if one would collapse without the other. One was jet black, weighing 89 kilograms. The other was caramel-coloured at 92. Both had faces that were deeply wrinkled, like melted wax. They were Boerboels, bred in the landscapes of South Africa to stand guard against lions. And they had been living in that shelter for 416 days. 18 families had come to see them. Every single one had walked away. "They're too big, too dangerous looking," they said, and left. The shelter director, Diane, spoke to Claire plainly and without softening anything. "They eat 7 kilos of food a week. The vet bills cost more than home insurance. We can't separate them. We tried once and they both refused to eat." Atlas barked so much he damaged his vocal cords. Together, they're a 180-kilogram package deal. Then Claire and Atlas looked at each other. Atlas pressed his enormous head against the bars of the cage and let out a strange, low sound, as if to say, "Take both of us home. Please." 45 minutes later, Claire had signed the paperwork. That's when the real story began. The first 3 days were a disaster. Atlas bumped into the refrigerator and dented it. Nala destroyed the couch. They were simply too large and too heavy for a normal home. That night, Claire set up expensive beds for both of them. By 3 a.m., both beds were empty. Atlas had commandeered the sofa. Nala had claimed Claire's bed, leaving exactly 50 centimetres of space. Claire tried to push her aside to get some sleep. Nala looked up at her with the calm, knowing eyes of someone who had already decided the matter. The conversation was over. But Claire still had no idea how deeply these 2 dogs were capable of feeling. 2 weeks later, Claire came home after a truly terrible day and broke down crying the moment she walked through the door. Atlas padded in gently. He placed his 89-kilogram body across her lap. Then Nala came and leaned against her other side. Claire found herself wrapped inside a wall of warmth weighing 180 kilograms. And for the first time in 11 months, there was happiness in that house. Not one of those 18 families got to see that moment. Then came March, and that night at 3:12. Atlas erupted in a deep, thunderous bark. Claire ran downstairs. The man attempting to climb the fence took one look at Atlas and Nala and abandoned the idea entirely, fleeing into the dark. That night, 3 other houses on the street were burglarized. No one came near Claire's. She had thought she was rescuing them. She was wrong. I wonder what you think about this story. Please share it with me.